Hey guys, my name's Christopher Bohse, and I'm here with Pavlaki. We are two of your AFC Armada fleet leaders, and we're here to talk to you today about the duty officer system. Now, Pavlaki is one of the AFC's top experts on the duty officer system, and he's going to be treating me today like as if I was a brand new player and I had no idea what the heck was going on in the duty officer system. So, Pav, tell us a little bit about it and how do I get started in this system in the first place?
Okay, a brief overview of the welcome AFC members, by the way. Uh, the best thing that I can describe about the duty officer system is it can reward you a lot in game, either by providing you with duty officers, do other assignments better. It can issue you EC or dilithium ore. Sometimes you can gain items like engines or deflector dishes or consoles. You can obtain them through the duty officer system. So you can either sell those, recycle them, get some EC from that. But overall, you do get a lot of benefits in game that can help out every character for STO.
Okay.
Now, for instance, when you start off, Chris, everybody starts off in the game with 100 duty officers. So if we just open up our mini map is very important. In the bottom center of your mini map is the button for your duty officers. So
Okay.
Christopher, if you can click that window and see what comes up. So in what comes up is usually the last thing that you entered on in that screen, but if you go to yes, you're in the overview. The overview for your duty officer system is your commendations at the top. See the tab at the top on the
Mm-hmm.
on the right? It says commendations there, which is highlighted. That means this is concerning your duty officer assignments discipline.
Okay.
Now there are 11 categories, and you can see them listed beneath.
Sure.
Of the 11 categories, click on the diplomatic at the top, and that'll give you an overview of all of the rewards that you get at each ranking level.
Oh wow,
And
that's a lot.
if you uh, if you look at it carefully, each rank will at least issue you a duty officer. The first two ranks will give you a green or an uncommon duty officer. Rank 3 will issue you a rare or blue duty officer. And the fourth rank will issue you a very rare or purple duty officer. Now, they will
Hmm.
be of different disciplines, different kinds from different combinations or commendations, rather. So you will have to choose along the way your duty officers that are issued to you. That's just given to you through the system itself. That's not including the specific assignments within this whole system that will also issue you other duty officers. But
Okay.
every character in game is given 100. If you go into your roster, Christopher, and you can see in your roster on the right is your officer roster. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I know that Christopher's is very large. He's added duty officers to him, but if you look at the very bottom button underneath all of this list on the left-hand side is request more duty officers. If you click that button, Christy, Bosie, and
Mm-hmm.
right there, you can buy some duty officers from the Gamma Quadrant or the Federation duty officers, but you can also buy duty officer roster slots. So either in lumps of 100 or 25. And those will cost you Zen to do so. So if
And
you
what's the maximum
choose,
number that I could get on that?
you can have 500 on your ship or on your character rather.
Oh,
It's
very
not
cool.
necessarily the size of your ship, it's on your character. So 500 duty officer positions are
Is the
available.
max.
But that
Okay.
doesn't include your active ground or active space duty officers. These are
Okay.
different. Now these duty officers, you make your duty officers active. That means that they will be doing only tasks that will benefit your character. They will not do any duty officer assignments in this system. And each of these duty officers, if you look at one of them, if you press one of them and click on the eye, yes, and that will bring up a full view of who they are, what their specialization is, and what their traits are. And in this case, Chris, you're looking at an engineer. She's a technician, but she gives an added bonus to your ship. That will be different, and that is covered more in your shipbuilding. I just wanted to point out these duty officers that will not count towards your overall roster.
Okay.
So in fact, in your case, you can have 515 or 511 duty officers.
Well, I can have
Because
12. I think I just have an open position here.
you have an open position. So
Yeah.
you can have, and you can get your active space and active ground extra slots can be purchased from the research lab. And if you look at our other video, walkthrough video, that is covered in the research lab holding walkthrough video.
Okay.
Now,
So, is there anything else that I need to know about this commendation categories?
I think the commendations, it stands for itself. All you do, each and every assignment that you complete and are successful in your system will add the points in the category of the assignment that it's structured under.
Okay.
So if
So
you
in other
do
words, it's engineering or tactical or science, it goes into that specific category.
yes, you'll familiarize yourself with all the different categories. Again, I don't want to get into too much detail. We
Okay.
will be having another more detailed walkthrough,
Advanced video. Yeah.
advanced video for the duty officer system.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to get the basics down. But in this window, if you see at the top there's a box that you can check, and you have checked it. It's to enable your first officer to give you recommendations. I highly recommend that each player do this because it's the computer that's basically going to assign the duty officers to whichever assignment you choose to plan. And if you go to one of your duty officers as an example, Bohse, yes, okay. And if you click on one of those planets, in that case, if we look at as an example, on the right-hand side, you see a select button. That is where you can change. If you click that button, Bohse, you can change, and the computer, again, will give you the best options for that particular position, for that particular duty officer assignment. And that's a good way that you can overview how you are running your assignments. Now, to get
I
a little bit
noticed
more,
that some of these are green and some of them are white. Like, why is that?
okay, if we look, for example, your top duty officer, if you see the picture of your Kabali duty officer,
Mm-hmm.
then beside his name in purple, and that's Gazader,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a quartermaster.
Okay.
And then it's his traits that are underneath there. Now that's in that blue box. Now over to the right in that blue box is the plus 20%. That's
Okay.
because he's a very rare duty officer, and he will apply 20% to your critical rating. Now right above, you can see your success meter, your outcome reader. Now,
Mhm.
this is a good way to preview what the possible outcomes could be for this particular assignment. Each assignment will give you a success meter. Some of them vary. There are 2 or 3 different kinds of success meters or outcome meters. And in this case, you're getting a critical, a success, or a failure, or a disaster. Now, in Bohse's case, he's got a 76% success rate with a 24% critical rating.
So no matter
Now
what,
that
I'm gonna succeed.
you're going to succeed, but you have a 20, almost a quarter of a chance of critting on this assignment, which
Okay.
means that your rewards, if you crit to the left there, will exponentially increase. The
Oh,
more you crit,
wonderful.
the higher you crit, the more rewards you'll get from it. So in this case, it'll give you more dilithium, more XP, more specializations. But this is also a very good example that you can have if this were the case, and let's say Bohse had a bit of a failure and a bit of a disaster. Now, if that happens, you can still take a chance and run them, right? If you want to switch and see how the success or the failure rate and the disaster rate have increased nominally. That's because Bohse has put his con officer at the top that has a red symbol. That's for you to notice, to watch out. So it's red. So it's saying it's in the failure and the disaster categories
So these
in
traits
this
could
case.
cause me to fail in these missions.
Exactly. But
Okay.
in this case, if you were to have a disaster outcome for this assignment, that means you won't lose a duty officer forever, but your duty one or all four of these duty officers might end up in your sick bay for 20 hours. So
Oh.
you won't be able to use them. If you go to your roster and then you can click on sick bay, that's where your sick bay duty officers will go for a period of time, and they will have a countdown with them.
So that's what it meant by casualty risk.
Exactly. There are different or there are different outcome meters that apply to different kinds of assignments in the game. So you just
Gotcha.
have to get used to the different. This is the most common outcome meter and the most easy to read. So
Okay.
if you have a failure in this assignment, that won't necessarily send your duty officers to the sick bay, but a disaster usually involves them being taken out of duty and having to go to sick bay.
Wow. Okay. Now I noticed underneath my sick bay I have brig and passengers and a cargo bay. What is all that for?
The cargo bay will show you what's in your inventory, also what's even in your bank. Now, I can't say that it is across the board. We'll show you everything that's in your bank. I've noticed that certain items just don't
Looks like
show up
just
in this
commodities and
window,
stuff like that show up
but
here.
it's mostly your commodities, and these are items that you need to run specific duty officer assignments. So you can easily look into this category to see if you have enough of any particular commodity or
Okay.
item that might be required for a duty officer assignment. Now,
Okay.
the brig and the passengers both will allow you to have 20 DOFs in them.
Okay.
Now, your brig on the Federation side, there's not very many things you can do with them. However, there are a couple of assignments, one being the security officer at Earth Space Dock or at the Starbase, which I've shown you in other walkthroughs, but they can also be found at Deep Space Nine and
Okay.
at K7. I think they're at Sierra 39 as well. Now, passengers are only for colonists. Those are for other duty officer assignments that will involve you colonizing nebulas or planets in around the game. Find certain you can find certain assignments in different areas of the sectors, but I'll explain that in a few minutes. But here, the prisoners and the passengers do not count towards your officer roster. You see, the categories are different. So your
So I
colonists won't
added like
show up.
5 colonists, and this didn't increase at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, as well, if you look at your duty officers and you go back up to your officer roster at the top and highlight that, Now, you can look at different ways of navigating your duty officers by looking at specific traits. If you take photonic out, then also their quality. So, Bohse, if you just click on quality and look at how many rares duty officers you have. Let's see how many rares you have. So those will be only his rare duty officers that Bohse has, because you can organize and get used to and look at your duty officers by quality, by color, by species, status, and or specific traits. So depending on how well versed you are in this system, or how much you want to know or be able to decide on assigning your duty officers in assignments, this will be a great opportunity for you to look through and figure out what you have.
Okay. So this is how I could like single out and kind of narrow down the search for a particular duty officer.
If you wanted to, yes.
Okay.
As well, if you click on your active space, then only your active space, you have to go back, then only your active space duty officers will be in that list on your left.
Okay.
So you can only assign space duty officers to your active space positions. And the same goes with your ground. So your ground duty officers, that list will change because you're in that category. Only those kinds of duty officers, but you can also use that as a system to search. So if you search for only active ground rare duty officers, you will only get them there. So here's a good indication that you're going to accept some rewards. You're going to collect your rewards from your duty officer assignments because your button is glowing green there.
Oh yeah,
so
it looks like I've
you can go into completed and see there's entertain foreign.
There's that diplomatic mission.
There's the diplomatic missions that you can find. These are all successful. So Bohse, you can collect all of these, and that will free these duty officers to go back onto an assignment and make something more for him. So this system is great because it's happening in behind the scenes. You can play your game, you send your duty officers to do these assignments, and every few hours you click on them and reap some rewards.
It looks like they give me a countdown and everything too on here for my
Exactly. And if you abort whatever, like for your medical achievement, Bajoran Bridge Officer, if you were to abort that assignment, you would get back what you paid in it. So what it requires there, it's asking you for 10,000 or 1,000.
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500 EC. That would be, if you abort that, would go right back into your bank.
Oh, that's cool. So I wouldn't lose it.
So you won't lose it.
Okay.
When you abort assignments. Try not to confuse assignments with missions. These aren't missions. You have story missions that you do. These are duty officer assignments. That's a very, very big distinguishing point in this game. If you call this a mission, it will confuse other players.
So if I go to department heads, is this the only way to get my duty officer missions? I just got to look between my department heads and choose missions.
Okay, there are several ways to choose your assignments for your duty officer assignments. If you visit your Starship Bridge, before you do that, Bohse, in this case, you're on the ground on Earth Space Dock. So therefore, you're going to receive duty officer assignments. If you go into current map in your duty officer assignments, that's going to be giving you all of your assignments relative to your geographical location. So right now you are on the ground.
These are specific to where I am.
That's specific to your location, yes.
Okay.
So if you beam up to your ship and you open up your duty officer assignment window while you're on your ship, then you will have maybe the same, maybe similar duty officer assignments, but they might include other duty officer assignments. So in
Okay.
this case, if you open it up here, for instance, you might
Oh yeah, I have some
look.
diplomatic ones now.
So there are more diplomatic because you're in system space. So now if we leave system space and go into sector space at this moment, then you can go out and see that when you're in sector space, and at that point I would ask for you to correlate what I'm saying to opening a map, and then we can get another idea. So here, if you do your current map, you will get yet again different duty officer assignments. Now, if you
Okay.
scroll down and look at that one assignment that has all those rewards there, I see 5 rewards. If you scroll up just a little bit, Bohse, yes, right there, that is a resettle colonist. That means you're going to get 5 colonists to become passengers onto your ship, and you can
Oh,
only
cool.
have 20 of them. So
this is
these
how I
are
can
free.
stack colonists.
So you can get 5 free docks for doing this mission. And as you can see, look at Bohse's success rate in his outcome window. It's a 100% success. But look down below. His bottom duty officer has unscrupulous. He's unscrupulous, and he has 2 red versions. Now, Bohse, can you do me a favor? Press select and see if you can choose another counselor, or if you have a quartermaster that might work in there.
I have a
So you did-
biochemist that seemed to
A
work.
biochemist. So it doesn't really matter. He only has all whites at the bottom. And that's not bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not bad. At least there isn't any red. Even though when Bohse had that duty officer with 1 red trait on it, the outcome meter still said 100%, and it was a 0% disaster. So that would have been easy to run anyway, even though that duty officer did have a
A
trait
red
that
trait, yeah.
that was a disaster trait. If you look at how you assign your duty officers to the actual project that you're assigning them to. So in this
Okay.
case, you can begin process, and in 4 hours, Bohse will have 5 passengers join on his ship, and he might use those duty officers in another duty officer assignment. There are
Okay.
many duty officer assignments that need colonists.
So I heard that you know some pretty special places to go and find like really cool duty officer missions that will help me level like really fast.
The best and fastest in game, and we can both travel to by using our transwarp system. Now, those of you players who have a relatively low level character, this may not be unlocked for you, but it does become unlocked at a certain point in your game. It's unlocked when you start to discover the Solanae Dyson Sphere story arc. So once you start doing some missions in your game in the Dyson Sphere, this Solanae Dyson Sphere transwarp button will appear in your transwarp system from your minimap. So we can just transwarp there directly.
So the Sphere Space Allied Zone, is that correct?
Sphere Space Allied Zone
Oh, okay.
is the destination.
So let's transwarp there.
Once you arrive there, you don't have to move at all, but in your bottom right-hand corner, you'll see 4 buttons, interact button. And at the
Okay.
very bottom is the space battle zone contact. If you press that, you can go to the Undyne space battle zone. And
Okay.
once you transfer there directly, it doesn't spawn you into the next map exactly where you want to be for the purposes that I'm showing you. So you need to just hit your speed and go forward about 5 kilometers. And then another interact buttons will show up at your bottom right hand corner. And that'll be specific assignments that you can only obtain in this geographical area. And these are by far the best secret in game. This is where you can obtain 638 points for each assignment.
Wow, this is great. It spans like most of the different categories, and it looks like they're only 5 hours apiece.
They're only 5 hours apiece. And from my understanding so far, and I've been doing these for well over a year, these will show up once in a 24-hour period. Once you do all 20 of these assignments in a 20-hour period, you won't be able to repeat them until tomorrow. But the exact same ones will show up again tomorrow. So you can run through pretty much all of your commendations a lot quicker. I would say 4 times quicker in most cases. In each category, except for diplomacy and for recruitment. Those two are the most difficult, and you'll find that those will be the last 2 that you will get to rank 4 of any of your commendations. But again, we'll cover a little bit about those more in the advanced video version of this duty officer assignment
Okay.
video.
Great.
The other thing that I'd like to point out, as I was saying, because these particular missions only show up once in a 24-hour period. If you look to the right and the bottom, right by your replicator, right above the replicator button, are 2 numbers. One's for your sector update, and one's for your shipboard update.
Oh yeah,
That
what
means
does
that means, Bohse, that all of your duty officer system will get a reboot or a restart or a rephasing, and either repeatable assignments will return back to the menu.
So it's like a refresh every time. Then
it's a refresh.
Okay.
And this is the way that you can obtain your duty officer assignments while you're in space. You can do this similar thing while you're on ground. For instance, if you're on the ground at Bajor, you may be able to obtain a duty officer assignment there that you wouldn't be able to get if you were in Bajor space, or that you wouldn't get if you're just outside of Bajor in sector space, which would put you in the Cardassian sector. So you sometimes the duty officer system will require you to do a little bit more exploration just within this system. Now, there's another way to access this system, which gives you a more visual feeling that you are actually dealing with the crew on your ship and assigning them to assignments. That's essentially what this system is doing. You have a complement crew of 500 on every ship if you have all of your duty officer roster open to you. But for those of you starting out, you have a crew of 100 duty officers that are going to do these assignments and work for you in the background. So if you board your ship, Bohse, and you can board your ship by, again, referring to your mini-map, and it is at the bottom right corner of your mini-map is a drop-down triangle. If you
So the drop-down menu.
If you scan in that, and you can visit your Starship bridge, that means it will take you directly on board your ship.
Okay, going
as opposed to being in a. Now, in that case, if you want to invite me, I can join you, and then we can run around on your ship. This is where you can interact with your bridge crew, number one. But again, that would be another video just talking about the assignments of how you station your bridge officers on your ship. But we can also access, if we go to your ready room, which I know be in this over here, I always go through the wrong, and you'll be able to find a console here with an interact, and you can contact your duty officers directly from this console. Now, again, all of these different categories will again bring up either different assignments based on your geographical location in the game, but as well, they might bring up some special projects. For instance, we can go down to another deck in a few minutes, and we can speak directly with every one of the heads of your different departments. So, Bohse, if you follow me, we'll just go down to the engineering department, and your engineering level, deck 36, is it? 38?
36.
36. And we'll go into the engineering and speak with the operations officer. In this case, he will give me a special project, which is a holodeck performance of Hamlet. Now, this is a particularly interesting duty officer assignment because it takes 20 DOFs to run them. And the one trait that seems to be the running success trait, all of these duty officers have to be photonic in order for it to be successful. But the critical is congenial eidetic memory and unruly. In certain cases, eidetic memory seems to be another trait as well that is very much needed. Seductive, as you can see, each of the duty officers are needed for different, I guess, act as actors in this performance. But the number one thing is photonic. Each and every one of them that I can see has to be or should be a photonic, and then it would be very successful. So the more photonic duty officers you have and you want to do this, the more success you'll have. And if you look above, look at his outcome meter. A 21% critical, a 52% success, a 19% failure, and a 6% disaster. So
well, that's probably for you. For me, it's 23, 50, 20, and 8.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Let me just, I'm sorry, I was referring to mine. So in your case, you have a 73% chance of success. If you add your success and your critical, that's a good way to really look at an overall glance, a very quick glance as to how this assignment will come out. So if you add your success rate to your critical rate and just look at your critical added to your success, that's going to be a 73% success rate, but your failure rate is over 25%. So you have one out of every 4 chances this might go bad. So that's, to me, a pretty high chance of a failure, or in this case, the 6%, 8% chance of a disaster. That means that some of your duty officers would go to the sick bay. So this has a high chance, in my opinion. I wouldn't run this personally because I'd like to see my failure and disaster almost nil and have more of a critical or a successful outcome.
Okay.
And if I do even if I make this successful, in this case, this is a great example because it's not entirely showing you everything that you're going to get from this assignment. This assignment, I know, will award you or reward you with duty officers. You can get green ones, blue ones, or purple ones. But even though this reward tells you nothing, but in this case, It's unusual. It will give you, I've received the ghost of Hamlet's father, for instance, or Hamlet himself, you can get as a duty officer. I know that there is a con officer that I've purchased there. Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, the con officer, and he's purple. This is one of the rewards that you would get from running this. There's the ghost of Hamlet's father. There's another Prince of Dan. There's the ghost of Hamlet's father. That's the blue astrometric scientist. So again, you run this enough, you'll get some more successful photonic duty officers. Which reminds me, you can also, if you click on your replicator, Bohse, just as an example, your replicator allows you anywhere in space or on the ground to replicate things that you can use. And here at the bottom, you can replicate as you level up and rank up in your commendations. You also unlock holograms that can only be replicated. Now, you can only have one of each of these photonic officers in your roster at once. If you notice, the already purchased means that Bohse has that duty officer already in his roster complement. So he could buy the green one or the white one if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to because he's getting better quality from having the blues and the purples. But these become unlocked as you start to rank in your different commendations. So for instance, once you start leveling in your medical in your commendation, then you might want to check your replicator to see if you can always use an extra duty officer to complete mission, or rather to complete assignments. So there's another area that you'll be able to get some better quality duty officers to get your assignments finished.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I think that pretty much does it for now, doesn't it?
I think so.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for sticking in with us this long and watching the video with us. Once again, my name's Christopher Bohse, and this is Pavlaki here. We're here with Pavlaki, one of the experts in our duty officer missions, as I'm sure you can tell. And we want to say thank you for watching and boldly go. And we're signing off.
And please share the video with all of your friends or Armada mates. Let them know that we've completed these walkthroughs and help videos. Live long and prosper, AFC.
Boldly go.